Hello there. Today we're going to tie this. This is going to be a big articulated pike fly in some really awesome colors. This is a fairly easy fly, although it looks a bit advanced. Then the number of materials also is not that great. A lot of articulated flies are out there and they look absolutely astounding. So this is my take on that, and I've tried to incorporate first of all some weight into this fly, and also I've tried to design it so it fishes well. First of all, that this fly really fishes well and is fairly easy to tie using an absolute minimum of materials. So first of all, we're going to use some shanks. These are just some, whatever shanks you have is good. These are about 4 centimeters long, and that's a good size for this. And the articulated part of this is, as you can see down here, we have some articulation which will make this fly swim very well in the water. So basically, what we need for this is some bucktail in 2 different colors, gray and fluorescent yellow. Then we're gonna need a shank, a hook of course, and then some predator strings, craft fur strings, some beads and some gold heads, and then some eyes and a bit of flesh. So even though I say you do not require that many materials, well, this is fairly light compared to a lot of the other stuff that is out there. So basically I start off by making sure that my shank here is closed, and this is important because the shank here offers a lot of different options. Oh, I can see this is not completely tuned. That's better, I think. Like so, yeah. Bear with me, I know. Like that. So my shank is completely closed, and this means if you want, you can of course add a stinger hook here if that's what you would prefer. Otherwise, you can attach a wriggle tail to this, and that's a very good option, I think. So basically, I'm gonna add some tying thread here to make sure I have a nice and good bottom layer of tying thread to ensure that material has something to latch onto. And then we're gonna use a bundle of bucktail. First up, I'm gonna take some gray bucktail here. This is gonna be the tail part. So we want not to start completely down where the eye is, because we want to have the option of the wriggle tail. And in order to give it an option to swim, then to move freely, we're gonna have the materials here. And so I tie in a bundle of bucktail. And this I'm gonna reverse tie. That means I'm gonna tie it so it's pointing forward, and then I'm gonna turn it over because this is gonna be the tail part of the fly here. Then this will actually make the bucktail stand up and stand out a bit more. Cutting off all the stuff I don't need. Not gonna be too careful about that, you know, just basically cutting it off so it's I'm not gonna cut it completely clean off like this. Just needed a bit more of pressure because it was starting to turn a bit on the shank here, like so. I'm gonna turn this backwards, just simply fold it backwards here with my fingers, like so. Hold everything in place and then tie all the way up to here. So I'm tying using some thread. That's also why it's nice to have a big, a relatively thick thread for flies like this. So this is a 100 DN Vivus thread, very good, nice pike thread. So about that, I'm gonna, you know, force it into submission. I was going to say with my fingers also, like so. And then I'm gonna take a piece of fluorescent fluoro yellow or electric yellow bucktail and do exactly the same for this fly here. And the combination of this yellow and gray really looks awesome. Apply some tying thread here, like that. And it's easy to simply just hold down the gray one and then cut off all the yellow stumps. Again, you don't have to be that worried about any stumps here because it is a pike fly and we want it to be bulky, but a little is nice, is fine. Like so. Rinse and repeat, fold this backwards. And I must say, these articulated flies, they swim very well and look absolutely astounding in the water. Also, they're not that difficult to cast, at least if you tie it like this. because it's bulky, but it's made out of materials that do not provide too big of a wind resistance. So basically like this, and then we have the two first bundles of bucktail here, like so. And then we're going to use the next material. And this next material is really a cool thing. This is craft made into a dubbing loop. So it's a thin metal wire with some bucktail and some fluorescent yellow fibers as well. And this is very nice to give bulk and give the fly some volume. So I'm gonna tie this down as close to the bucktail as I can, like so. And then I'm gonna I have a very old, very beat up pair of scissors somewhere. These are here, because this wire is, we can just tie it down, of course. So we don't have to cut it with the scissors. Like so. Again, I'm gonna make sure that there is a nice coating of tying thread to ensure that, that my materials has something to latch onto. Like so. Then I'm gonna turn this, but we're gonna use in a package of these strings. There is 8, and I use one, the same one three different times on this fly. So really you get a lot of volume for your monies with these, because this single string is gonna be the one used for this entire fly. Even though I'm gonna use it 3 times. As you can see, I do not turn it completely close to one another. I make some room in between these turns here, like so. And that's because I want it to have some volume, but I do not want it to be too bulky and to soak up too much water. So basically that's it. And that's a good thing to think about when you're designing and tying flies. That always there is a thin line between having enough and having too much, and often less is more on fly tying materials. And one of the things that a lot of people have difficulty with this is their flies simply get too bulky, and then they do not look credible out in the water. They do not look like something that is actually well, worth eating, because they simply just look like a big pile of gooey stuff. So like that, just gonna take, I couldn't find my dubbing needle, so I'm just using my wood finish here. I make all my wood finish by hand anyway, so it's nice to have a purpose for this at last. Like so. As you can see, the bucktail and the colors here really meld in and gives a nice tapering effect to this. And the bucktail in the back is really pointing out, and it's gonna have some volume and really have a big volume out in the water. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take a bit of flash here, and I'm gonna use the ordinary holographic Flashaboo in a color that's called Midnight, or no, Moonlight it's called. It's a blend of pearl and black and silver. Really cool product from Hedron. And I'm gonna take too big a bundle of this. There's some flash also in the string, so basically I'm gonna do like this, and then I want this to be not completely even in length, the flash of course, and then I want it to be all the way around here. So basically that's it, like so. Cut off the leftover flash. You could have turned that over, but I do not want this to have an insane amount of flash. I just added some saliva, so I have this for later. There's no need to throw that away. Like so. Then I'm gonna add 2 small bundles of bucktail to finish off the look of this fly here. Again, I'm gonna have the gray in the bottom, and then the yellow one on top. But this I'm not gonna reverse tie this, because I want this to taper. So if I reverse tied it, it would simply stand too much out, and I do not want that. So I just fold it so it's gonna come around, all the way around the fly here, and then I'm gonna cut off all this here. It's a fairly easy way and a universal way of making these articulated flies is the way I'm doing here. So try this out with this technique. doing this technique, and then the colors that you prefer for your waters as well, because as I said, it's fairly easy and it really looks outstanding in the water. I'm gonna add some gold, yellow, not gold, yellow of course. Gul is yellow in Danish, so that's why yeah. I misspoke a bit. You could say like so. I have the yellow. I'm gonna cut off the leftover from this as well. Like that. And as I was saying, I really think that this color combination is pretty awesome. A guy called Paul Monagahan, I think, I have a bit of difficulty pronouncing his name, made a very nice articulated fly also with this color combination that really looked awesome. I think he called it Gin and Tonic or something like that. It really was a cool fly, so I wanted to do something of that theme because his composition of the fly was really great. But I wanted to do kind of like a fly that had that same cool color combination, but was tied differently, tied more to my liking in terms of fishing. I like it very much when you have flies that of course look cool, that's nice, but also that really fishes well and is designed to last a lot. So I'm gonna take one feather here, one grizzly saddle feather on one side. This is gonna be the sideline of the fish, and these whiting are so long that I'm gonna use this several times. This single feather I'm gonna use several times during this tie, so that I do not waste too much materials. Like this. Like that, and that's the first part. So I'm gonna do my whip finish here, add some Sabagap, and then the first part is done. Where did I put my glue? Here it is. Like so. And then I'm gonna take this out of the vise, because then the first part here is done. This is gonna be the tail part. I'm gonna leave it over to the side to dry a bit. And then I'm gonna take a hook. This is the Arex Bartless Predator, lightweight Predator in 6.0, and that's a really nice hook. My absolute favorite pike hook. I'm gonna take a fairly big tungsten bead here, and then I'm gonna attach this to my hook already. We're gonna need that later in order to give this fly some nice and bouncy effect in the water, compared with the tail that's gonna be absolutely cool. So I attach the tying thread again here. Again, I want to ensure that I have a very nice and solid base of tying thread. So I'm just gonna go over this part a few times, like so. I think this could be a pretty cool trout articulated fly as well. If you downsized it, of course. I mean, this is a 6.0 hook. You're gonna be targeting some fairly impressive trout with with a fly of this size. Then I take a piece of monofilament. This is 0.69 or 67, something like that. That is durable enough that it will last to the pike's teeth. But also that it really can stand some battering. So I tied this down so one end is pointing that way, and then I'm gonna take some of these 3D articulated beads, and I'm gonna attach 4 of these to this piece of line. You can do this also with titanium and stuff like that. But I like this. I like this heavy monofilament for this. So I attached 4 of these, and these are gonna be the ones that are gonna keep the tail in place so it doesn't entangle too much hair. Basically, well, that's the purpose of these. Then I take my tail part and put the line through the eye here, and then I put my line back through all 4 of these beads, like so. I see. I had this the wrong way. It's going to be the other ways in order for it to face the right way. It's not going to be that much of a problem when fishing, but it's you know, it's something. It's the vanity in me that tells me I need to do it this way. So my sideline, my saddle feather is going to be facing the right way, like that. So you see, you have this small here, and there's still room for some wriggle effect, and also this will move in the loop I've made from the monofilament. So I'm holding this down there, and then basically I'm just securing everything here with a lot of tying thread. And if you want this to be completely secure, you take some sabagap here. Just add a bit of that, and everything will stay where it's told. I'm tying on top of the monofilament quite a long way up here because I want my hook to have a larger diameter in order for me to not have to tie as much material and use as much thread. So basically I'm gonna take it all the way up there. So I have about a bit more than half. A bit more than half is what I've tied on so far. Like this. Then I'm gonna go back here, and then I'm gonna do, well, basically the same thing as we did on the tail part. I'm gonna take some gray and yellow bucktail, and again this I'm gonna tie. I'm gonna take as long bucktail as I can manage. And bucktail is a natural material, so it's important that you get good quality bucktail. I take great care in my shop to have the best quality available in bucktail, and I go through every package I get, and if it's not up to standard, then I simply return it to where I bought it from, because I know for these pike flies the length is crucial, basically. Really is crucial. So I'm gonna pull out all the really short fibers here, like so. And then I'm gonna measure it. There is some that is a bit too long for my liking here, and that's not a thing that's so important for fishing, but it's important for the symmetry of the fly here. And basically I'm gonna tie this. I'm gonna put it around, so fold it down so it's going to be all the way evenly distributed all the way around the hook here, and then I'm gonna clamp down on it like so. So it's going to be kind of like a veil of bucktail all the way around my beads. And because the bucktail stands so far out, it's not gonna have any effect of the movement of my tail part here. And this is, well, basically this is, well, perfect. Just like I wanted it to be. I did not reverse tie this because I want this to be part of the body, and I want this part to taper right and give the right shape of this entire fly in order to make it more fish-like. Cut off as much as I can of all that leftover junk I don't need, like so. Yeah, I think this looks exactly how I want it to be. I'm gonna take a bundle of yellow again. Choose some of the longest you have on your bucktail for this part of the fly. It's not a gigantic fly, this one, but it is a fairly large fly, and a fly that swims really well. So I'm just gonna pull out all the stuff I didn't want. Again, making sure that it's relatively evenly distributed all the way around the hook shank, like so. And I made the yellow a bit shorter than the gray fibers. Gonna cut all of this off. And I'm gonna add a bit more flash, and here I can use the stuff I had left from before. Again, try to distribute it all the way around, like so. There's not much on your side. It looks very nice on my side, so I'm just gonna take a few more strands to make sure that there is some on your side as well. Yeah, that's better. Now there's someone for you to appreciate as well. Okay. Then I'm gonna add another piece of hackle, and as I said before, now I have this long feather, but the end of this is you know ruined. So I'm gonna take my scissors, and then I'm gonna carefully cut so that it gets pointy again, because then I can reuse this feather. And as you can see with my scissors, I simply made this feather into a usable feather once more. And I want this to be not completely as long as the first one, but approximately the same length. Tie this here, like so. And then I'm gonna use the other half. And actually there is almost enough for one more in this feathers and in this feather, and that's what I really adore about these whiting saddles. Keogh makes some nice one as well. But it's getting increasingly difficult to actually get some of those. So when I got my hands on some whiting, I must say I really was impressed. These are just absolutely astounding. Regretfully, they do not make them in as many colors as the Keogh does. But if you should only have one, then I would say the grizzly that has not been dyed is without a doubt one of my absolutely favorite colors. I'm just gonna add a bit of super glue here, make sure everything stays where it's placed, like so. Good thing to add some super glue along the way when tying flies like this. It makes them 10 times more durable. Well, basically, yeah, that looks nice also on your side, luckily. And then I'm gonna take the string here, and as you can see, I have pretty much left of the string still. Just tie this down here. Then I'm gonna move my thread forward up until around here. So I have about, how much is this? I have about 1.5 centimeters, something like that, maybe 2 centimeters for the rest of this fly. Brush everything. Keep this hackle, this craft fur hackle, so I have everything pointing backwards at each turn of the hackle here, like so. Again, I do not turn this completely. I turn this loosely, kind of like if you made a rib for a salmon fly or something like that, because I need this for the last part of the fly as well, and also not to make it too dense, and I want it to be translucent, so that it looks more like a fish. This, and I'm gonna turn this 1 or 2 more times, I think, like that. And now I need my old busted scissor here, like so. Then I'm gonna take my wood finish again. My doving needle would be preferable, and comb out this craft fur. And I really must say, these AP Predator strings, craft fur strings, are truly awesome. And they're durable as well, because it's intertwined into a metal thread. Then they really, first of all, they stay where they're placed, but also the material is held very firmly in a firm grip in between those two. I don't need a wood finish here. You could do that, but I don't need one. I don't know why I did that. old habit, perhaps. Now no, I don't. I'm gonna do a whip finish. I make a whip finish here in order to have my gold head hidden in between the middle of the fly here. So I take a bit of super glue, my tungsten bead here, and a bit of super glue there, and then I push this backwards because I want this fly to finish off. Not with the tungsten bead. I'm gonna have it here, so it's still in the front of the fly, so it will make the fly dive, but it's not gonna be in front of it because I want this to be a very good looking fly as well. so I'm hiding my tungsten bead in between some other materials, and now it's off to the last leg of this fly, which basically is exactly the same steps as before: gray bucktail, olive bucktail, the flesh, the feather, and then I'm gonna finish off making a head of the rest of the string. So I take the gray bucktail. So as you can see, once you have one of these sections down on this fly, you actually have a very nice and easy rinse and repeat pattern that looks awesome. Fish as well, and is highly durable as well. I see a lot of people using the Senyu laser dubbing, for instance, for heads on these big predator flies. But in my experience, then it looks absolutely amazing, but it's not that durable. If you catch a few pike on your flies, then the head of these flies with the dubbing head will be torn to shreds. They will simply stop looking big and voluminous rather fast. This fly is durable. This will last a lot of fish, and it will still look great even after your 6th or 7th pike. And that's important to me as well. Yeah, I want to sell some materials, but I want people to have flies that last as well. That was the gray part. Cut as close as I can here. Like so. I'm gonna take the yellow. I must say this fluorescent yellow is one of my all-time favorite colors. Not just for this, but also for salmon, and it's also nice for perch. And really a good-looking and a well-fishing color. And when you combine it with this gray, the intensity of it is masked, because it really looks quite intense in the water. But added to the gray color, again thanks to Paul for showing me this color combination on his YouTube. If you haven't seen him on YouTube, then definitely you should. Paul Monagahan. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Paul. Otherwise, I'll owe you a beer or some wriggle tails or whatever, Paul. Let me know if you ever watched this video. Like that. Then I add a bit of flesh. Again, this moonlight color is so awesome. The combination here of the pearl and the opal and the black. This I'm gonna make a bit longer, perhaps 2/3 of the length here. I'm gonna use in my first turn over. So it slipped a bit. I'm gonna turn the rest over and tie this down on the way back. Come on, get up there. The flesh is so so slippery that it was a bit of a problem for me to for some reason my video stopped recording, so I had to backtrack a bit. But I've cut off the bucktail, the yellow bucktail, and now I'm gonna add the flesh here. I take a bundle of the moonlight again. I added a bit of super glue in order to make sure that all the materials here stayed in place. So I take this and then I spread it out so I can actually have it all the way around again, like so. And the flesh is going to be a bit longer than it's going to be probably about 2/3 the first part, and then the second part, the 1/3 that is left, I'm going to turn over and tie down as well, like so. That way we're using all the flesh all the time. And then I'm going to take one more saddle feather here, and I'm going to put one on each side again, and these I'm going to make shorter than the previous ones. So I have a short, a bit longer, and then the tail that is even longer. And that's really gonna look cool in the water, because they will move independently and create a very good illusion of the sideline of a fish. Oh, stop entangling, goddammit. Just gonna cut them off, and it's probably gonna sort itself, like so. And these I'm putting to the side, so I'm gonna use them for a final touch on this fly. Basically everything is tied down and secured now. And then I'm gonna take the rest of the string here, and I'm gonna make the head part of the fly. So it's gonna be like that. And I have a big tying point here, I know that, but that's okay, because that's only gonna add to the tapering effect. So I get to the fly here gets tapered all the way down. And if you've done this correctly, you will have about 1/3 of your string left. And I'm gonna use all of that to create this last part, this head part of the fly. And here it's nice to have a hackle plier to attach to the end of the string here. That makes things a bit more easy. So I'm turning the head part here, because I want that to be a bit more bulky. Then I'm making my turns a bit closer to one another here in the last part, to give this fly a nice looking, a dense head, like so. And now I have completely used the entire string. Gonna cut off this leftover stump of metal wire with my bad scissor. I know both my good and my bad scissor are the same looking, but there is a difference. And I know which one is which. So I'm gonna pull out all the craft fur here, all the awesome looking part of the string. Careful so not to accidentally smash it, although it is strong, as I said, so you don't need to be that careful. And that gives a nice finishing touch. Of course, now you can take this fly fishing, and it really looks well, it works well, but I would like to add something for flavor. I think that you can add an eye, of course, with some epoxy and stuff like that. But what I experience a lot is that the eyes made from epoxy and stuff like that is simply just placed on top some dubbing or some other artificial material, tend to get smashed fairly quickly by pike teeth. So I'm going to use an artificial jungle cock. And these are made from a very strong and very durable material. I'm not saying these cannot be busted by pike teeth, because, well, basically nothing can withstand pike teeth indefinitely, but these are fairly durable, they're fairly strong, and they look awesome on the fly. They give a lot of contrast as well. So I'm gonna add one of these to each side here, and they're not that expensive. And you can use those because they're so easy to attach. Then you can use those a lot of the times on pike flies, and it's something I'm gonna do a lot more of, I think, because I really like how they look on flies like this. It gives it kind of like a classical look. It's not something that is completely necessary, but as I said, I'm a bit of a sucker for detail when it comes to pike flies. I do fish a lot with very simplistic flies as well, but sometimes, well, you just gotta play with stuff, and this is one of the times. So as a finishing touch, I'm gonna add two more saddle feathers on top here. That's gonna be basically, they're gonna be imitations of having this fly have a more dark back, like real fish have. So I take the feather I used before, and I cut this into, so it's gonna be tapered again, as I did 2 or 3 times before here, in order to save on materials. And I do not want this to be all the way down the fly. I want this to be a natural part of the fly, but not to be completely all the way down to the tail. And I want it to lay on top here, kind of like, you know, not a roof, but something equivalent to that. My feather is not folding in the right direction. That looks fairly nice. I'm gonna take the other feather, and regretfully, this other feather has a bad bend in it. So this will be nice for the body, but it will not do for having on top here. So I have to take a new feather for this. Like that. I took one of the shorter ones on the saddle, and I must say these whiting saddles are truly amazing. There are just an enormous amount of feathers. If you want, and you want to add symmetry to this, you can add a grizzly feather on the lower part of this fly as well. But that kind of defeats the point, because I'm adding these to have a darker top side of the fly than underside. And so I'm just gonna have mine on top here, like this. I'm gonna make a whip finish, and well, add some super glue, and it's done. Really a nice cool looking pattern that swims awesomely, and well, compared to a lot of other stuff, do not use that many materials if you want to tie something like something articulated. I haven't dubbed this yet, but if you have any good suggestions, please feel free to comment on that down below, and I will pick one of the names you added there. So, well, that's me signing off. Thanks for watching.